Hi, my name is Gina. I'm coming to you from my home in mid-Missouri. It's actually a mobile home. Um, I moved in here about 12 years ago after coming down with depression and debilitating anxiety, and I lost my nursing license. I lost my job at the Veterans Hospital. I lost my house. I lost time that was with my kids, but I wasn't present. And not too long after I got anxiety and the doctors couldn't give me anything to really help me, I started drinking more. So I'm also an alcoholic. The reason I decided to come on here, this is my first time if I didn't say that, is because maybe I've been through a few hard times, and maybe if I can help someone just hang in there a little bit longer, things will get better, because I've been through some pretty tough shit. So I just got to get my story out, maybe. Um, it all started 30 years ago when I met my only husband, now my ex-husband. Um, I met him and we dated for 2 years, and he started yelling before I married him, but I thought after we got married he'd quit. But it just got worse. And he was abusive. He'd call me every name you can think of, pushed me outside, and it was 11 degrees out. He locked the door, and I crawled in to the basement and sat by the wood stove and cried. So I got rid of him. 10 years of marriage, though. Not soon enough. Had two beautiful little boys, though. Um, and they're wonderful. And without him knowing, I bought a nice, beautiful home, the one that I lost when I got sick, and moved out with my dad and my daughter while he was at work one day, because I was scared of what he would do when he came home and saw me doing that, because he was kind of crazy. So that started that. At that time, I was working at a state hospital for the state on a psychiatric ward. I liked my job. I enjoyed it. But I think I worked there 5 years, and they had accidentally overpaid me in overtime, like over $4,000. They wanted it back in bi-monthly payments of $400 each. And I, of course, had the new house and 3 kids. I have an older daughter from a relationship before I met my husband. And I had 3 kids to support, and I wasn't getting any child support. So, anyway, I digress. I had a friend that worked with me part-time at the state mental hospital, and she was taking a new job across the street at the VA on the med-surg floor, and med-surg is something I've never done. And she offered me a job, and it was about $10,000 more a year, but God, it was culture shock. I wondered some days when I was there what I'd done to myself, because I just wasn't used to using a computer where I did work before. Everything was computerized, and you just ran your ass off. So after I dated someone about 3 months after I got divorced, which my advice would be don't date anyone for a year at least if you get divorced. I dated someone for about 8 months, and then he broke up with me, and my heart was broken. I mean, I was so sad, and I think that's where the anxiety and the depression started. Um, One day I was sitting at work, and I just felt this funny click or something back of my neck, and I had anxiety almost ever since then. There's been a few days without it. And I went to the doctor, and he gave me a Ambien because he thought it was just sleep I needed, and I slept. But then when my feet hit the floor, I immediately had anxiety. So I called in sick and went back to the doctor, and he gave me some Xanax and a Zoloft. And after the Zoloft started working, it was like heaven. I'm like, oh God, I'm back to my old self. I thought that was it, but little did I know, I had a lot of suffering yet to go. I mean, anxiety, I read somewhere, is hell on earth, and that's the truth. Um, I never wished, and I never thought about suicide, but God, I wondered why I was born sometimes. It got so bad. Um, so I took that job, and then I got anxiety and depression about 8 months later, and it was hell. And I kept going back to the doctor, and then I went to another doctor, and my work was suffering. When you take Xanax, of course, in order to get rid of the kind of anxiety I was carrying, I would take 2 Xanax and wash it down with wine. And later on, it became vodka. When I figured out that the wine wouldn't do it, I drank so much of it, it wouldn't do it. And I started drinking vodka. And I would carry it to work in my purse, my biggest purse, a big bottle, and take my purse to the bathroom if I needed to, and have a few swigs to help myself calm down. Would you want me to be your nurse? I mean, one time I hung the wrong bag of fluids on the wrong guy, and it was, uh, I can't remember the name of it. It was a potassium chloride, and it affects your heart. So, I mean, could have killed the guy. My work was suffering. But I kept going, I kept going, I kept going back to doctors. I kept drinking more and more. And I just couldn't hardly find any peace except when I was passed out from a benzodiazepine and alcohol-induced coma. That's when I found peace, when I drank enough to pass out and not feel anything. Um, what's next? Let's see. While I was working there, I remembered I drove all over drunk. I mean, I didn't think anything of it with my kids in the car. Um, my little sons in the back seat, plus everybody else and their children. I mean, God, I did get a DWI on my way home one day. Um, I saw there was a wreck, and I was going to get out to see if this is an ignorant, see if I could help. And the cop looked at me, and he made me walk the line, and I wouldn't blow into his little whistle, and that pissed him off. So I had a big gallon jug of, I remember a big gallon jug that was halfway gone of cheap wine. And they act like they found a treasure when they found that in my Xanax. Um, and I was so pissed off and drunk. I said the wrong things. I really made that cop mad. I told him I hate cops. Oh, I didn't make it easy for myself. So I went to jail that night. First time in jail. And I remember going to this cell with the telephone and trying to call bondsman so I could get bonded out. And finally found one, and I got released. My daughter was there to pick me up and drive me home. And it was one of the most humiliating things that I have ever had happen. And as my story goes along, you'll see that humiliation is the one of the things that I had so much of. I'm like, how humble do I have to get? But I was humbled. I remember one day I had my youngest son in the car, and I think he was around 5 or 6. And I was desperate for some Xanax, and I had a prescription to pick up at the grocery store. So we went in, and I got him, and then I got a big box of wine. When we came out to the car, I was pouring wine into my coffee mug and getting the Xanax out, and my son just watched me and started bawling. He was scared, and he had every right to be. And he started bawling, and I comforted him, but it didn't stop me. I took the pills and the wine, and I drove home safely, thank God. It was just It was just terrible. It was just beyond suffering that I didn't know a person could suffer that much. I never, I mean, I had 3 kids, but I'd rather have another baby as go through a whole day of anxiety. Um, so I usually drank on my way to work, on my way home, and a couple times during my day at work. And I made it 3 years, 3.5 years that way before they fired me. First time I've ever been fired, and they did me a favor because I was in no condition to work. I remember one day I was going to get a massage, and I had no idea how drunk I was. I thought I could drive. And I drove the 12 or 13 miles into town and pulled up to the massage place and grabbed the door, but I misjudged it when I opened it, and the handle caught on my sleeve and just tore my shirt almost off. And the women in the salon place go, "Oh my God." And then thank God there was a woman that I used to work with sitting in the parking lot, and she saw it all. And she drove me home. She had her daughter follow us in her car, and she drove me home. And that was humiliating too. God. I used to be behind the desk, but in a short time I will be telling you about when I was on the other side of the desk and I wasn't in charge of anybody or anything, not even myself. I think that's going to do it for tonight. I hope to get better at this and to let you know that you're not alone. And before I go, I ask that maybe we should, in these hard times, we should begin to pray without ceasing. And Matthew 18:20, I think it is, where it says, "When 2 or 3 gather in my name, there I am with them." And I think if we gather together in like minds and pray, that we'll heal, the country will heal, and we will be better because of it. So I will see you next Monday. Okay? Bye.